you're not. I don't know if you want to if you care to say exactly where you are, but you're not in Los Angeles, where a lot of or New York. But when it comes to like a recording session, do you have to travel someplace? Have you been able to find sources for good quality music that you can work with on at the level that they need to be remotely?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I think that I've always like strived to, if I'm needed out in LA, then I'll get on a plane tomorrow and go to LA and be, wherever I'm needed. That's definitely something that,
But how often are you needed? That's maybe the
well,
question.
less now because of the pandemic. I mean, I did a recording
Yeah.
session at the end of last year where I did it all remotely, and I zoomed into it and was in touch with everybody and watched it and listened to it. I had it piped into my studio, and it was it's easy. It's everything. There's so much technology around now with different capabilities where you can really be tapped into other studios and other like a group of people. I think that I also didn't really like during the height of the pandemic. I didn't do a lot of. I didn't need to have a lot of like orchestral stuff
Right.
done, and so I didn't. I sort of dodged that bullet in a way. Um, but there were choir stuff that we had to do for gemstones that was the restrictions that we had to adhere to, and but yeah, I mean, I think that earlier on before the pandemic, I would have to be out in LA for recording sessions, and I would. And post pandemic, it's been more less. It's been less less of a thing. With I think it would depend on the job too. If I'm in a position where I'm like scoring 50 minutes of music, then I'm not going to do that remotely. I'm going to go out there for that. If it's like a
Right.
smaller, piece, then which is the case at the end of last year, but it was a full orchestra and we just, lined it all up and I just zoomed into it. It wasn't a Zoom, but it was, Zoom type
Right. High
technology.
tech Zoom.
Right. And, yeah.
As not, we're not in the industry of recording musicians at high levels like you are, but when the pandemic first started, there was FaceTime and then Zoom came on the scene and everyone was like, "Oh my god, you have to get Zoom, you have to get Zoom." But I'm wondering, in like that 2-year period where everything was kind of shut down, did the technology, were they discovering new ways to do things at higher qualities, or were you already using a system that was in place? That, because I know that remote recordings weren't a new idea, people were doing it overseas.
It was definitely new to a lot of
But did it
people,
get
but was it
better?
new to
Did
you?
No,
the
I think that
equipment get better? I know that like
totally.
musicians too, like studio musicians
Mm.
had to build their setups and get comfortable with the idea, but like how
Oh
how
yeah,
much
we've heard the
easier did
horror
it
stories
get
from
over
the
that 2-year period
instrumentalists.
as everyone kind of signed up and got on board and technology got better? And what changed?
I think, yeah, I mean, I think that mostly what got easier is the adaptability of everybody or everybody. Like, like it wasn't so much that people using this technology. And yeah, the remote recording has been around, but that it was less stable and it was also less explored for like the bosses. So like producers that would want to be at a session wouldn't, they would prior to the pandemic, they would I think that it would have been more of an issue to not be there and to not to be more of a gamble. Like, what do you mean we're not going to do this? In the traditional way. I think that it became more of an accepted thing across the business and like all departments, not just those that were already kind of using it. Um, I didn't do a lot of remote recording prior to the pandemic. I mean, other than myself, like stuff that I would do here, I would deliver music remotely, but like for orchestral stuff like that or anything that was like that's a bigger kind of scenario, I wouldn't do that prior to the pandemic. I wasn't using any remote technology. It was just I would go out to LA and for a session.
Mhm.
But now that things have changed and it's been so accepted, I think that yeah, you're right. Like you mentioned, musicians that have setups in their home where they can record stuff and send it to whomever, and you can have like people play it, every possible instrument. You can get all the files together and you can mix it and then send it out, and that's your you know that's the piece. But I think that it took some time for yeah, like the musicians to get a handle on that because that's a commitment on their end to set up makeshift recording sessions. Some are more adapt to it than others, and it's also kind of weird. I think that the problem, I feel like, in a way, with that approach is that there's so much that I would want to do to a recording scenario. Where if I'm recording like a cello or a quartet or something, that I wouldn't need to go out to LA, and I wouldn't need to bring in a team to do. I could just do it myself in a regular scenario. I would want to explore miking scenarios and like different ways to capture that audio. But when you rely on people to send you the files, that you lose some of that control and some of that experimentation possibility. But I mean, it's all, I guess it's you're weighing the pros and cons of the technology and what it's affording you. Because if you need to get it, then you got to get it. And if you can't, if people aren't going to leave or they're not going to want to record outside of their home, then you got to, take what you can get.
And at least now it's possible to get it. Which
Yeah.
is the cool thing. Like it is a new tool now, or at least something that can speed up the process, expedite things. So.
It alleviates problems. Yeah. Like it does, like it sort of minimizes issues that could pop up because of, all of the issues that have come about because of COVID. It's just changed everything so much. And so it's, one of the benefits I think of that is that, yeah, it's like made recording music maybe a little easier, because you can get people to record stuff without leaving the house and just have them send you the files. But like I said, again, there's also the, you're sacrificing some of the creativity and recording by having them do that. And it's also like back and forth. Sometimes, it can be time consuming. Somebody lays something down.
No, we need this again. No,
Yeah,
I was
gonna
version
say,
8, version 10.
it's a blessing and a curse,
And
right? Just like a computer, digital
Totally.
audio workstation. It's like